with it, dance, shake, move 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 with it, dance, shake, move.
Hello, and welcome everybody to the Aveda Collective in partnership with Colour World. All the team at Aveda are so excited to share this beautiful collective group of people with you today. We've got some really amazing, colourful colours to show you today, as well as some awesome inspiration and innovative ideas. So before we get stuck in with that and I introduce you to today's artists, I first of all wanted to introduce you to Aveda Colour. If for those of you guys that didn't know Aveda does colour, Aveda Colour is really unique. First of all, it's up to 93% naturally derived, which means that up to 90% of a tube of Aveda Colour is derived from a natural organic source. And on top of that, to help you with your creative thirst, our colour is fully customizable, which means that every colour that you're formulating for your salon guests is truly individual to them. So hopefully it's going to kind of unleash your excitement for Aveda Colour today, seeing what we're going to get up to. Well, I hope that has truly inspired you watching that video. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our first artist and a very dear friend of mine, Jo McKay. So welcome, Jo. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here today. I'm super excited to be here with the team.
Absolutely. And I think that it's amazing. We're sat in this studio space and we've got delegates as well. So thank you very much for sitting and taking this time to watch us. Now, Jo trained me actually in Aveda. You trained me when I first joined Aveda 2.5 years ago. And we love to talk, don't we? We always say how much we love to talk.
I know. And being two Joes, how can we not help ourselves?
Exactly.
Right?
Never met a bad Jo. So Jo basically works at our lifestyle salon and spa in Covent Garden, which you can see on that beautiful image behind us. It's the most stunning salon. It's actually one of our largest locations in Europe. There's so many people working in there. It's like a factory of hairdressers, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing. So moving on, tell us about your model and your inspiration.
Thank you. So this is my model, Alex. So she's kindly come to be with us today. So I'm going to take you through a look, which is really about this iridescent pearly tones. And as you can see, I've actually pre-done some of her color. So you can see that and see really what the end result is going to look like. So that really gives you an idea that when I do the application of what that end desired result is. So for time, I've prepared half of the head, and then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to then work on this side and work on it for you. So I'm just going to take you through some inspirations on how I got to this look. I'll show you some before videos and we'll talk through it. So as Jo said, I'm the Advanced Creative Director for hair colour at the Aveda Lifestyle Salon and Spa in Covent Garden, London. So please come and visit us. We have such a beautiful site and incredible, full of so many hairdressers and a really creative space where I work. So what I want to do is take you through some of the trends that are happening at the moment. And obviously it's been a particularly interesting year for all of us, and especially for hairdressers. So what some of the trends that I've looked at, really being Aveda, it's really about this eco consciousness. That's really like the ethos of the brand. So we have a whole philosophy behind Aveda, which makes it unique and special, which is also a very big trend. So this eco-intelligence about us caring from the world to the products that we're using and what we're putting on the guest. Now, then that also like merges as well with fashion. So fashion, it's like a big thing for us at the moment with fashion. We're thinking about sustainability, about products, materials, and I think it's really taking a huge kind of boom into the future, merging digital, because now we're into a really big digital age, with then eco-consciousness. So that would be one of my main themes. So the palette that I've chosen today, it's really about that iridescent, pearly feel. So when you look at the hair, you can see this multi-dimensional pearly feel with that pastel, that lavender, that digital lavender kind of feeling through it, mixed in with a little splash of pink going through it. And really one of the big points that I'm going to be talking about today is using our enlightener, powder lightener, and how do you create a clean blonde for these colors to go onto? Because every hairdresser always asks is, how long is it going to last? So it is going to last as well as and as good as you prepared the hair and kept the condition. So we're very big on treatments. We have something called botanical repair, which is a really big product, a huge launch for us at the moment. And we're working with this and we're pre-conditioning the hair prior to doing the color. So this is really like revolutionary for us. It's a product that we're using in the salon from beginning to end, and it's really unique, where we're spraying it on the hair and then it goes into the color and then through to treatments all the way through the service, which the clients really love. So creating that iridescence feel, this ombre effect, light reflective, very kind of glowing and very light. Could be something also that a guest would have, because I'm working on floor and we want to be able to offer our guests the trends. And really it's all about the guest. And so we're layering multicolor palettes together. And this very powdery pastel tones, they're not hyper bright for the look I'm doing today. It's just very soft and very quick for at the backwash when you're working on floor. So it needs to be something that when you're working on floor, you can turn it around really quickly. So the sectioning of what I've previously done on Alex. So I've taken 2 panels through into the back. It's very like subtle and soft. You can see through here as I like part that, you can see this tonality coming through with that lavender tone, but not too heavy, still quite soft. 2 panels working on either side of the head with the same formula. And that formula that I've used on the side is, for an Aveda person, you will know that formula. It's called Universal 0N. So if you're not with Aveda, it's a clear. And then we have something where we've called it pastel violet. So it's a pastelized tonal that we're putting into it. Normally we put it into our high lift, but I've made a bit of a creative mix today, and then I've done 10 volume. Did you want to say anything about that before I move on?
Do you know what I was just going to say about you, Jo? What I love about your formulas, and I think that anybody that's a colorist in the house, we're formula addicts, aren't we? We're formula junkies. And I think that you've always got the guest in mind. And I think that sometimes, whether it's in an Instagram world that we're living in, sometimes we see these formulas, don't we? We think, I don't get that type of client in the salon. And I think that what you really do is you have that perfect marriage between formulating these beautiful hints of tone that are alternative, but then working them in the hair in such a magical way that it still looks supernatural, but it's different. So it's almost kind of like this, for example. It's like a blonde that would really kind of turn heads for me. It's kind of like you would walk past it in the street and you would take a double take at it. Has that got pink in it? Has that got that mystical violet in it? It's really, really beautiful.
Well, that's the thing. For me, it's all about the guest. And for all of us working in the salon, it's really about that guest who's coming to see us And how can we give that person like an essence or a feeling of the trend? So a lot of my clients who have blonde hair, how can I give them an essence of the trend, but maybe they don't want to be bright pink. Not every client wants to be bright pink, but they want to be part of it. So what I'm just doing is a light pastel lavender at the root, a pink, light kind of pinky tone through the root mid band, and a little bit of a kind of like a slight shine shift working through the hair, and then working with a deeper tone through into the end. So I'm just like blending those as I work up.
Perfect. So I'm definitely going to leave you to that because you're doing a show and tell today. So you're going to do that
doing a show and
isolated
tell.
section, and we're going to get this rinse so you can see the
Thank
completed
you.
look
Thank
afterwards.
you.
Moving on. Perfect. So the next artist that I'm going to introduce you to is Kenny. So Kenny works for the Gina Conway Group in Westbourne Grove. Visited you in the salon the other day. Gorgeous salon. Love working with the Gina Conway Group at Aveda. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Kenny.
So I'm Kenny Yuen. I work for Gina Conway. I'm one of the artistic director there. It's such an honor to be invited back by Aveda, coming back here again. Last year I was doing something. So with this model that I've got, my inspiration is coming from the lockdown. Obviously, you see people's been dyeing their hair and they kind of like get it all wrong, and you got this mid band coming out. So my inspiration is kind of using that band of color, pre-lighten it so we get a little bit more interesting, playing with our vibrant color, which is one of our range in Aveda. So we got some beautiful colors here. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you a technique. We're going to be applying the darker color onto the roots, and then through the mid band, this is pre-lighten, which is like bleached hair. So then we're going to add it a beautiful, vibrant color into it. And then at the end, we're going to put it like a darker color at the end. So we're actually looking like you got a shine line, but it's like a mistake, but it's not a mistake. My formula is here on the roots. We use a light brown, which is a 4N, and then I mix it with a dark violet red, and mix a little bit of a violet in there with 20 volume. So that's the permanent color there. And then with my next free color, which is a color vibrant that we'll be using, is actually I got something that is here like to show you, which is to create this color here, like an emerald kind of like color. What we have here is a lagoon, which is a blue, and then
Just hold it up to the camera.
yeah.
Okay. Excellent. I know everyone's going to be desperate to see these formulas.
So we've got a lagoon and mixing with the actual Davide, which is the actual yellow color. And when you mix the two together, that's how you get this beautiful, like an emerald green that we got here, just to show you, which is great. Okay. So we got also this lagoon and Azila. So I'm going to crack on and apply this color, and I can show you what I do. Okay.
Thank you very much. So awesome. So I'm just going to head back over here to you, Santi, so I can see that you're working on your mannequin head beautifully there. Now, I've worked with you quite closely in the salon, and I've always been really, really impressed with, your transformational looks that you do, but secondly, the speed that you work in to get those transformational looks. Now, I can see that you're working there with your paddle. Could you just give us a quick explanation into what you're doing, please?
So I think the important thing with when bringing someone from a dark base to a lighter base is the right placement. So what I try and create now through underneath, you can see that my section's a little bit chunkier. By the way that I'm placing them, when they fall down on your hair, or when they put the hair up, you'll be able to see the lovely lightness coming through there. So the technique that I like to use is something that I learned when I trained in Paris. And it's just a bit of freehand balayage. But just to make sure that I get the right control, I'm using a paddleboard here to get the lovely blend through the top, saturating the hair, and then just putting lots of products and lighten it through the ends to make sure they get a good lift. I then put a little mesh just to make sure that it doesn't mix with the rest of the natural hair. Now, I like to keep it nice and tidy just so I can get a good clean result. That would just help me get the contrast in between the color. But yeah, so we're going to move on to the next section.
Fabulous. I think that that's a real key thing with any lightening product. It's all about saturation. The more product that you can get through there, the lighter the result's going to be. We've all been there, haven't we, guys, where you've done a beautiful freehand balayage. You think that's going to look so good. And then you take it off. And it's like, where is it? Where is it? And I think that, you know, it's
quite visual, isn't it? I think that it's all quite visual. I think it's the way that you apply the product and the way that it looks is the way that it's going to turn out.
Exactly. I think you've got to work like an artist. You know, I think for years we've worked like little grannies knitting almost. It's kind of, you know, like if you think of foiling, we do 10,000 foils in one head of hair, don't we? We spend all this time weaving throughout the past years. Whereas I think that the biggest trend, consumer trend over the past 3 years for me is customization within hair color. And it's kind of, you know, giving your client a hair color experience and giving them that independent, customizable look is what's on fashion at the moment. Because actually there isn't one particular shade that's on fashion, is there? So come back to you for a second, Joe, if that's okay.
Joe. Yes, I really agree with what Joe's saying about the customizability of Aveda. That's what I really love about it. It's a bit like a painter's palette. You know, it's just a myriad of so many different colors. You know, you can get your pinks, your blues, your violets, your silvers. You can get everything with Aveda. So as you can see, you get really great combinations and you can intermix tones. So it makes it like super fun. So I'm just going to finish off this section, what I'm doing here. Basically, I have a clear product. I've put some pastel violet in it and I've used 10 volume, color catalyst, cream catalyst at the new growth root area. And then what I'm doing is that I'm taking a high lift product and I put something called pastel violet in, so which is going to make it pink. And then I'm just placing that color in just across and like lightly blending that through, just so I have that kind of like swoosh of iridescence through the hair. And then I just have a slightly deeper one, which really grounds the color more towards the end. And so it's just making sure I'm saturating, I'm taking fine sections, and then I'm just covering that off. And I love to use a paintbrush, Joe.
You do? I've seen you with your
I'm a bit
paintbrush.
of a paintbrush fan.
Is that because it's got a softer bristle to it?
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
And I actually balayage with them as well. So the paintbrushes, I just get them from an art shop. And I love it because of the way that it really sweeps when you're using it. So, and I've even actually started using them when I tint hair now. So they're just another tool. Aveda have some really great brushes, but sometimes you might be just looking like a different consistency with the thistles of the brush.
Okay, perfect. All good. Right, so I think I'm going to play a quick video now, if that's okay. And it's of one of our education leaders globally. He's got a great message for you guys.
Hello everyone, this is Ian Michael Black, Global Artistic Director of Hair Colour for Aveda, and with Aveda UK being one of the proud sponsors again this year of Colour World, I wanted to just send you a little message to say welcome. Last year I got to take part and it was an amazing experience, and even more amazing to tune in and see what all the other artists were doing and showing new ideas with colour, technique, formulations, all sorts of things. And I know this year it's going to be a little bit different because more of you will be able to be there in person, which I'm very jealous of. And I know Aveda has some amazing artists to share with you. So I've worked for Aveda for 21 years and it's been an amazing experience. So I not only love Aveda's mission of care and ultimate respect for the planet and everything it does, I also love its hair color system that is designed like an artist's palette to really stretch you as a colorist and really go from just standard formulations to really having a system that's customizable so you can make a couture hair color for each service. So I can't wait to see all the different trends, techniques, color placements, all sorts of things that I know everybody is going to share, whichever brand you're affiliated with. This year I've been particularly loving kind of that grey, which is one of my favorite colors, is one of Pantone color of the year. So I've been very into this kind of moving away from kind of silver and a more kind of slaty grey mixed in with kind of egg yolk yellows and sort of cherry blossom pinks and things like that. So I can't wait to see what you're going to show and what you think the trends are at the moment. So whether you're there in person in London, whether you're tuning in digitally, I'd like to say have an amazing 2 days. I'm very jealous. I wish I was there, and I know you're going to leave having a great time and being really inspired by everything that you see. And remember, if you see anything really good, make sure to tag me on Instagram at Ian Michael Black. I love to see amazing new things. Or if you want to know more about Aveda, tune into aveda.com or go on Instagram and look up Aveda Art.
Elida audio de
And you can see some amazing work from our Aveda artists globally. So have a great time. Lots of love from California, and hopefully I'll be able to be there next year in person. Lots of love. Have fun. I'll be able to be there next year in person. Lots of love. Have fun.
Thank you very much to Ian, our global leader in hair color. For those of you guys that don't follow him, do give him a follow on Instagram because he is truly inspirational. So back to you, Santi. Now I know that you've worked through the back sections through there, and for time's saking, we've kind of done a few sections, and then we've just left an isolated section back there so we can show you guys as much of this technique as possible. Now, through that side section there, you're working on a diagonal placement. Are you working in a similar sort of manner? So using your enlightening products, you're working that onto a board. Are you doing it in the thicker sections, finer? You're weaving? Tell me a little bit more what you're up to.
So what I'm doing at the front now is I'm using highlighting technique. What I do with the back, I tend to do it a little bit more in the balayage technique to try and create some shadowing. So when we drop the top sections that are going to be much brighter, we get them popping out. So without the shadows underneath, we wouldn't be able to have those blonde bits popping out. So at the front, I'm just phase framing it right now. So I'm just putting, getting it right to the root, because what we're going to do at the end, what I've done with my model, you'll see the results, is I've done a creative toning. So I've left out the entire hairline at the front. And I've just toned the roots, and I've done a root shadow everywhere else. I'll talk through my formulas when I show you my model, but for now, all I'm doing now is just doing some diagonal sections, face framing the front, just working my way through to the back. Once I've done the sides, I'll move on to the top, and it'll be the same technique. We'll be using the diagonal sectioning, getting a few folds a little bit closer to each other at the front just to get that brightness in there and get your face framing, and then just space them out a little bit more through towards the back.
Awesome. Now we're going to come back to you in 2 minutes because I want to hear all about that face framing highlights, because you know, face framing is a thing, really, isn't it? And you know what? I was laughing with a few of the team here yesterday. We were like, how has this become such a trend right now? You know, this face framing highlight. And we were joking it maybe it's because all hairdressers have been foiling their fringe themselves at home throughout lockdown, and that's how it's come about. So we'll be back to you in a couple of minutes for that, Santi. So Joe, you're my partner in crime now. We can work together.
Can't get any better than that.
I'm Joe with an E, you're Joe with an A.
Yeah.
So could you just give us a little talk through what you're up to with Kenny? Because you guys are all pals.
Oh, yeah. So Kenny and I are old pals. We worked together 18 years ago when I came from Australia, and we worked in the same salon together. So it's super nice, isn't it, that we're still working together?
You haven't changed a bit.
I haven't lost my Australian accent.
Not yet.
Not at all.
Not yet.
So, like, you're coming to, this looks really amazing. I absolutely love your color combination. Do you want to just talk me through, as you come to the end, what your thoughts are?
So, like, with this color, like I said, the inspiration is coming from kind of like lockdown, dark root, dark ends, and having this beautiful color in the middle. So going back to this combination, the actual inspiration for this band is really like oil spill. As I would review this hair here, that you can see a little bit more. So as you can see, it's kind of like, you know, a little bit like an oil spill. When I actually move it, the hair, it looks even more nicer. So yeah, the color combination, I'm so happy that we got this color vibrance that we can work with, so we can actually give in that a little bit more. Yeah, great.
Just do a little reveal, help reveal it, because it is really amazing. I love the way that you've combined the shift of these tones that are coming through there are really amazing. That, like, you've kind of got like that deep tip on the end, and then that lighter panel through there looks really incredible. The colors and the patterns and the textures, that's really key, isn't it? Like the placement, you know, you're really thinking about your placement, about what you're doing.
Yeah, well, with this particular way of coloring, because I'm kind of like doing it in a sequence that is more or less the same. So when you're doing it horizontally, you can actually do it like as in like horizontally or kind of like on the sideway too, because what we're working is like we're working with a darker root. So then that gives you a little bit more of a depth. So even though when you're moving around, as long as you're doing the same kind of combo, you actually still get that nice effect with the, you know, kind of this movement going on. I have tried last year to actually do something different, which is using like quite a number of colors, but we're just kind of like alternating it. So doing like for example, if I got 5 colors, I'm doing a number 1 on the top, then number 2 at the ends, and then number 2 at the root, and then number 3 at the ends. And that kind of gives you a different result. But I want to kind of give that sort of like a shine line, gives you a little bit more kind of like explosive or that color, just that mid band. So it kind of like punchier even more, kind of like I can work with like fringes, or you can work with longer haircut. I mean, this haircut that I'm creating is a little bit of an undercut with a slightly asymmetrical, pushing it to the side. So it really works, you know, either you framing, you know, around a face, or you can like wear it in the front. It really gets quite versatile.
Yeah, amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the deep root, the root and the tips.
Yeah.
Great. And then you've got that shine through the middle.
Amazing. Just back over to Santi for 1 second. I would love if we could just get some action in here and zoom in on this face framing highlight. So what I've noticed that you've done there is you've gone to foil. Is that so you get a brighter effect versus working with your plastic mesh here?
Yeah, so with the foil, what I like to do tends to keep the heat a little bit better. So normally I have a little bit of longer foil just to try and get a clean section all the way down. But just to demonstrate, what I do at the front is get a slightly chunkier sections, and then just get the product nicely all across, fold them in, and then just keep working yourself back. For me, I think as a colorist, attention to detail is so important. Because, you know, there are the rules of coloring, but sometimes they say rules are made to be broken. But for me, it's the attention to detail, just having the eye that, you know, if you need to do things slightly different and alter the color in between, or you need to improvise, and that you do the necessary changes.
So I suppose my question is it a slice? Is it a weave? Is it a slice, a weave, a slice? do you know what I mean, though? As a colorist, it's kind of like, I feel like I've tried every single concoction going. And then sometimes I'm like, oh no, that's a nightmare. That needs a shadow root quick. Don't let her see it. I mean, we've all been there. So I know that you, in Edward James, you do a lot of celebrity clients. This is the type of look that you do. So can you give us your secret? What is it?
So what I normally do is it depends on the look I'm going for. So for the look that I've done this time, I've done the weaving. Most of the look has been weaving, and what I've done in between to get a little bit more lightness on the ends is a slight back combing, just very gentle. And then I've just done a little bit of, created the ends a little bit lighter. This will allow just for that blonde color to just pop up, especially on a client who's got, you know, virgin hair and he's never had any brightness through. And if you want to create it all in one go, having the right base, I think, is always important as well. So with my client,
Absolutely.
You'll be able to see that I've managed to create that look all in one go. It did take us a few hours, but we got there eventually. And I think with botanical repair treatment as well, it helps a lot to maintain the condition.
I think you're totally right. It's all about having those blondes that just look on point, look shiny, and yeah, thank you for giving us your secrets. I'm going to be giving that one a go for sure. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to pass the center stage back over to you, Joe, and you're going to be giving us a quick brief on the latest trends.
Okay,
So over
perfect.
to you.
Thank you. So let's take a look at some more of the trends, because I think it's really key to have this knowledge when we're talking to our guests, that they feel like that we're really informed and we know what's happening. So obviously for all of us, I mean, a lot of people have been either locked down in Zoom, and all the hairdressers, you all know, either you're doing education by Zoom or you're giving education. So even for me, teaching classes. So it's really been a platform for all of us. Technology, we've just been transported at 100 miles an hour into technology, which is super amazing and incredible shift for all of us, because hairdressers, we're used to touching everyone and being so close to everyone, and now we're in our houses on Zoom. So it's really giving us, like, I think we're kind of gone 5 years ahead to what we would normally be at, but it's super exciting, and it's been allowing us even to do what we do today, which is amazing. So you have that combination. Also, one thing that I just wanted to talk about, Ada the robot. There's actually this humanoid artist. They've made this robot that actually does her own art and has her own Instagram page. And she does and she takes a photo with her eyes and then makes art and then gets it shown in the museums in London. And when I saw that, I thought that was really revolutionary, that there is now Ada looks like a person, has a color palette, and is actually creating art. So you have all these different things mixed in with technology, with nature, and then if you look at some of the future color palettes, you have these maroons and deep purples are going to be coming through for autumn, winter 2022. And then we start looking about like what's happening in makeup. You know, that's really even fascinating because when we do the hair, we do the cut, it's all one look. Head to toe, it's the clothes, the complete look. It's not really just about doing the hair color for me. It's like, how do we transform someone into a complete look? And when you look at this very high shine, high gloss, and Aveda, we're using a lot of glosses. This is really important for our add-on service for the guests. So you would do your surface, you do the glossing in between, and that would be an add-on. And that's really important to us hairdressers, that we have these add-on services with our treatments. Things are about digital beauty, stencil layering. Things are going to be like stenciled prints on hair are going to be coming very fashionable. And bold stripes, you've seen that with color on Instagram. People are doing big stripes of color, much bolder for that guest who feels comfortable about having that type of color. And then when we look at our enlightenment blonding, our blonding system is above and beyond. I've been hairdressing for a good 30 years, and also my family were hairdressers, so I've used many things, and I really find Aveda to be like this premium product that's keeping the hair in great condition, and especially for a blonde. We're all doing like lots of foiling all day. With our guests, I am definitely doing a lot of highlights, so I need my guests to have that beautiful clean blonde, and even with the color I did today with the pastels, it needs to be clean, the color, to lift it up past those brassy yellow tones, but keeping the condition is key. So what I've done with my model with Alex is, before I've done pre-lightening, and we have something called our enlightener is called powder lightener enlightener. Then we have the hair strengthening additive, which is this line here that we're placing into the color to strengthen it. And that is actually repairing the hair while we're actually coloring it, and it's protecting it and strengthening it at the same time. And I've used a 30 volume color catalyst. Now, when I did this, I did about an inch away from the root area because I did the mid-band area first, and then afterwards I went back into the root area. Now, when we do the root area, we have something called Cream Booster, which has blue chamomile and menthol in it. And what it does is it soothes and cools the scalp as we enlighten. So we know that when we're doing a full blonde enlightener on someone, that person's protected, and it's got lots of jojoba, sunflower, castor oil, all these key ingredients that condition the hair at the same time. So what I wanted to do is just show you the before with Alex. So this is what she looked like before. And there's Christopher Poten, my work colleague, doing a beautiful haircut for me in our beautiful Aveda Lifestyle Salon. And here you can see the products that we're using that help us to facilitate the service on the guest. So sometimes I just put them into ponytails when I'm working because they're easy to section. I've done the enlightener powder. There's the hair strengthening additive. I just do 8 grams of that. And then I've done my 30 volume color cream catalyst developer. So I'm not going straight to the new growth, the root area first, because it will develop too quickly. I need to do the mid band first because it's actually going to be harder to lift. So here I am doing back-to-back slices on her hair to pre-lift it, to then eventually go back into the root area and do that last. So the key thing is, I think education is key. It's one of the big pillars of my career that we need to have the right education. Joe's doing a lot of education. He's going out there into our salons, connecting with people. And I know also Kenny does a lot of education. We need to be educated to know the best way to use our products. Here you can see I'm pulling it out. And then what I'm going to do is go into the root area. So I've let that lift up to a beautiful kind of like palest yellow, and then I'm going back into the root area and allowing it to develop. Then we have something called Demi Plus. This is going to be like something that will tone. It's like a semi, it's a demi, but that kind of semi product where it's going to eradicate the warmth in the hair. So that's going to use a light ash just to slightly take away that warmth in the hair. So I've got a clean palette to then do my pastels on. We've got a new launch. Blonde Revival is our latest purple shampoo. And actually what I find incredible about this product is normally when you use a purple product, it's normally just in the conditioner. This product is the shampoo and conditioner, so it can be left on up to 2 to 3 minutes. The shampoo as well to clean out that warmth. So that's perfect. And then that's the end result.
Perfect. And I think that, you know, we're talking trends right now, but I think that trends are totally how you interpret them. You know, I'm not from London. I don't know where you guys are from, sat here, but I'm not from central London. I'm from up north, a smaller city called Chester. And I think that, you know, all of these trends that you talk about, even if I often say, even if you take one point from that mood board or one color that really inspires you, I think that it's a trend and it's a win-win, isn't it? It's all about, you know, how it motivates you and how it makes you feel psychologically.
Yeah. And absolutely. And it's how we connect with the guest. So for me, it's like, how do I make that guest feel $1 million? How do I make that person feel really comfortable in our environment and feel part of the trend? And so these are a lot of this digital lavender, this ethereal kind of like pink tones, this royal purple, you know, these kind of royalty colors. And that was how I came up with the palette today. And then we have, you're going to be noticed that there are a lot of really incredible artists who are doing really bright colors. So like even like Kenny, you know, you can see this palette here, you know, what he's created there. These are your colors. You've done these, you know, like these really kind of surge, powerful tones for the right guest, someone who like wants something creative, who wants to be an individual, who wants to be an artist.
Absolutely. Usually you do that to a bit more like the fashion industry, people that are in there and out there showing their work as well, so they can carry it off. I totally agree with Joe, because it's like in hairdressing, it's not just about hair, it's a whole image thing. So it needs to be from head to toe. So, you know, carry away with a color like this, you need to dress well.
Yeah. And I often say to the guests that, what colors do you wear? Because once you've got a gown on them, you need to make sure that if you're doing copper hair, that they don't wear all copper, unless that looks really good on them. And then back to this kind of digital atelier, spring, summer 2022. Digital, this is here to stay digital, isn't it? I mean, it's really, you are on so many Zoom classes, aren't you, Joe?
Oh my goodness. I mean, if I could have £1 for every Zoom class I've taken in the past year or Teams meeting, I would be a very, very rich man. But I think that, you know, it's all about changing people's mentality, isn't it? I think that it's educating people on this new era, because it's not going anywhere. I mean, I remember when my boss told me that I had to sit on Zoom she sat at the back of the room, can't look at her. But when she said, you know, you're going to be working on Zoom now doing that, I was like, I don't want to do that. And now I love it. It's great. I love it. I can wear shorts. It's fantastic. Yes. So yeah, I think that how you relate that to fashion is, it's like you say, it's almost like that pixelated color that you've created. Where's that sort of come from? It's all come from that digital era and that futuristic point of view. And I think, again, it's how you characterize it. It's how you take that version back to your salon guests and what works for your brand as well.
Well, we're looking at our phones more, and we're looking at digital images, and that is changing the way that we see color. And color's really transformed over the last 15 years, really, you know, having a lot more colorful things. But I think digital has taken us to another level. And then I just wanted to finish on one kind of like high inspiration. I really love Sam McKnight. He's a stylist. He's British. He does like all the fashion shows, really inspirational. He did a show for Dres Van Noten for Autumn Winter 21. And really, you know, you've seen that Billie Eilish, and you'll see some of the team and hairdressers here. They're coloring the root area. They're making it green. They're making it pink. And I think that really came from the show that he did. And Serge Lutens, which is a stylist, he was inspired by this Serge Lutens, who was a French stylist. He researched him and he got inspired by his work, because it all comes back from history, filtered down. Then Sam McKnight does it, and he does it on a show. And then that inspires us to either be trainers to educate you when you come on a class. So it's a full circle, isn't it?
It really,
Yeah.
really is. Thank you very much for all of that.
Thank you.
That trend insight. For those of you
Thank
guys
you.
that don't follow Jo, it's at Jo Louise McKay, isn't it, on Instagram?
Yes, thank you.
I find a lot of my inspiration from there as well to keep up with the digital era. So we're just going to show you a short sizzle video now, a little bit about the Aveda brand, who we are, our history, our heritage, our mission, and also kind of our ethos moving forward. Just grab my clicker.
Here.
You got it? You
Go
stole
on.
my
I
clicker,
know,
Jo.
my
How
clicker's
dare
still
you?
on.
Curvi, lasso, Monte Carlo, Simi, Fursti, Malo.
Aber, Lama, Risti, Kota, Stockvar, Instigator, Rota, Curvi, lasso, Monte Carlo, si.
And no, our beautiful model here wasn't a mannequin head before, but we wanted to show you over this kind of studio space, over this hour, we wanted to show you a true kind of before and after on how you've created this technique. So Santi, could you story tell and tell us a little bit about how your model's hair started and the journey that you've taken her on?
Yeah, of course. Shall we turn around a little bit? Perfect. So as you can see at the back, what I was mentioning before, you've got some of the shadows in between there, and that's just to create the blonder bits at the top pop out even more. So when you brush it through, you can see some of the darkness and the natural in between. If we put just blondes too close to each other around the back, what we're going to end up with is quite a blocky blonde, which I think if that's the look you're going for, then essentially, you know, you can do it that way. But the way that I like to work at the back is just create a little bit more natural, and through the top, just foil it out, put lots of foils in there, just get it really blonde, and then work it down with the root shadow. So the formulas I used on this time, if we do your head back a little bit, you can see through the top, the foiling came all the way up to here, but just to get a soft and a natural blend through there, I like to do the highlights all the way up to the top and then just put a root shadow in between. So the formula I used at the top was a level 7 from Aveda Demi. I used that with 40 grams of 7, 10 grams of light ash, and 10 grams of light intense ash. As Jo mentioned it before, the great thing about Aveda is that you can be so creative with your toners, with your coloring. So I think for colorists and artists like ourselves, I like to be able to create and sort of customize my formulas rather than just having one formula mixed up for you already. I like to be more, attention to detail. So for me, being able to put as many grams as I want to, if I want to double it or if I want to take less, is quite important. At the same time, as soon as we apply the roots, I left the whole front out. So if we just show that camera there, you can see the face framing at the front. That is just to frame her face a little bit and to make the color pop out a little bit more. So we left the entire front out, did that, toned that at the end, toned the roots first, and then toned the middle ends and ends with a level 10 demi from Aveda. I like most of my formulas are always, if I'm going quite blonde, I like to make the blonde a little bit creamy, a little bit ashy. So what I've created that with is 40 grams of 10 grams of ash and 10 grams of beige. Again, you can get quite creative with your formulas, but that's one of my favorite ones. I don't know about you, Joe.
Yeah, again, it's all about options as a colorist, isn't it? And I think that how I think that trends have evolved now we're kind of out of lockdown is I think that clients and salon guests are way more aware of what they want. I think for a long time we were, even if we tried to not be, we were very much in a same again culture, even though that's kind of criminal as a hairdresser, isn't it? We never use that terminology. But a lot of the time we would be like, well, she's blonde and she kind of stays blonde and she has that same toner and that same full head of back-to-back highlights. Whereas I think that, coming out of lockdown, I think our clients kind of, I've been talking to them a lot about translucency and how they can either have a color that's quite opaque and like a blanket of color from root to tip, or a color that is quite soft and neutral and, grows out really, really natural. And I think that that's what I love about your type of coloring is that you're working with depth and shadows, but are extremely translucent at the same time. So they give that real natural soft out regrowth. So also through the end here, and one thing that I'd really like to point out is when we sourced the beautiful Stephanie had completely natural virgin hair. However, it was like a level 5, level 6, like it's quite dark. And you did this in 2 hours, didn't you? So how much did the technique take you from start to finish? Because when I was like, how much time do you need? Do you need half a day to complete this work? He's like, no, I'll just have like an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's like, I couldn't do that personally. So really, what is your trick to this?
So I think, as I mentioned before, for me, it's placement. The way that I like to work, as I said, through the back, quite natural. We came on Friday morning at 6 a.m., believe it or not. We did the color quite early in the morning just so we could get it ready for today and to showcase this color. Through the back, it took us about an hour to place it. Then through the front, just half an hour. I think with your highlighting techniques, it's just quite straightforward. As long as you've got a vision of what you want to create and get out of your model at the initial consultation, I think the rest is pretty straightforward. Once you've got your techniques, you can either improvise them halfway through and change something that you need to change, or you can just go, for what you visualize right from the beginning. What we mentioned before, how I like to get my lightness and those bits of blonde popping up is by creating a few lighter pieces in between my foils, any natural hair that's left out. We sort of got this blonder bits that you can see in here. You've got a lovely natural color in between that just gives it that lovely contrast. But then through the ends, I just like to brighten them up a little bit more and just create a few extra pieces of blonding.
Perfect. And it looks stunning. And what I love about these two looks that we've got here with our completed models is they're so, so, so different. So Joe, could I just invite Alexandra and yourself onto the floor? If you could just download your completed look, that would be fabulous.
Okay, so we actually have Michaela, who's done the styling today, which I think she's given a beautiful styling. So you really have that enlightener, powder lightener base, the blonde base. And then we've put that kind of ethereal pink, violet, digital purples going through her hair. And you can see here I've left a panel through the top that's a little bit like lighter. It's almost like a safety veil. And then you can have these stronger colors that are peeking out through underneath. Working with that shape at the back, when it has a slight graduation, I don't always put a lot of color in there, just so it will really offset the haircut. And then as it turns through into the side, you can see these panels coming through of that pink, and then she can just tuck that behind her ear and you can see that color coming through there. So yeah, it's just very pink, powdery, soft, ethereal.
It's like whimsical.
Fantasy,
Whimsicals
pearly.
come into mind.
Yes.
And again, what I like about fashion at the moment and trends is that these looks are so different, but yeah, really, really relevant to the current sort of market. So
Yes.
I'm going to invite you artists to come over here, and then I'm going to ask the models if you can just get a little bit closer to the central stage, and then we're going to play some music and get some beautiful close-up of the looks.
Dance, shake, move with it. Dance, shake, move